Welcome to Backroom Talk.
Justin LoFranco from the Morning Chalk Up.
Just such a character, right?
He was.
Yeah, funny dude. Really funny dude.
So I came from politics. I came from Washington D.C. It's where I grew up as a professional. There's something I tell all the writers on the staff. You don't get to have friends if you're going to be in journalism. If I were CrossFit, if I were Eric Rosa, I would double down on a trend of direct-to-consumer technology that brings fitness for CrossFit to the living room. I'd build an app, the CrossFit app. If I could, I'd do it.
To listen to more Backroom Talk, be sure to subscribe. Learn to design personalized programs with the OPEX system of coaching by heading to opexfit.com. Cool. Let's say we're rolling from here on out. Yeah, go ahead, Georgia. You were going to ask a question.
Yeah, like what's your team like at the Morning Chalk Up, Justin? How many people are you working with?
Man, so we utilize a lot of freelancers for writing. And that's pretty common in the written world. We probably have about 8 freelance writers. Myself, I'm on the writing staff. I write occasionally. I wrote a piece this morning about the landscape of the new CrossFit Games season as things are shaping up. And then we have support staff beyond that. So, things like administrative, social, growth, sales. I think the total team is probably like around 12 or 13 people. There's only a few folks that are really like on the full-time side. Most are, contractors and, just have a kind of a specific task function there. But it's grown a lot. If you think about the last 2 years, we basically added all those people in 2 years. Previously, it was just really like me. And then we just started slowly adding like one person, a little after a little after a little, and growing the team to be, a dozen or so of the most kick-ass people in CrossFit. So it's been really awesome to watch it grow.
What was it before, that 2 years ago when you added the team? What were the origins of the Morning Chalk Up?
Well, the origins, so I came from politics. I came from Washington, D.C. It's where I grew up as a professional. So my first job was in Congress, and we have these like morning newsletters that start our day, and that it comes out early in the morning. You wake up and you read through it, and you get everything you need to know about what's going to go on to set the tone for your day, whether it's legislation that's up for consideration or things that are happening in the White House or across the political landscape. And I wanted to create one of those for CrossFit. I thought there was a need there to bring this disparate, just global community together into one place, and everybody could wake up and just be like, yo, this is what's going on. Excuse me. There's some cool stuff going on out here. Here's what you need to know to start your day. Boom, done. And we've basically taken that concept, grown it a little bit more to now we're really being the genesis for stories and genesis for the conversation that's happening globally. And, what you should be paying attention to. A lot of the things that, instead of relying on other news outlets to break that, we're sort of now being the conduit for that. And that's kind of where things have changed and adjusted a little bit.
When you first started rolling with this, Justin, did you think it'd be something that you'd be doing full time?
Well, very specifically, that was the hope. The hope was that we could grow this into a thriving company that had long-term potential and, that had the ability to survive economically and financially. And so it wasn't by accident that we moved into that direction. Now, nothing's guaranteed, even as much as you want it to be. So getting there was the tough part, but wanting to be there, wanting this to be a huge component of my day-to-day life and what I'm doing professionally was something I wanted from the beginning.
Why fitness and CrossFit and not something else, man? Like, I assume you were doing CrossFit in DC at the time and you saw a hole in the market, and how did that play out?
Well, so I left DC in something like 2015. I moved on to I moved back home to California and began to start this project back then. So I left my career. Basically, I was just done with politics and I just wanted to start some new things. So I didn't leave it and then wanted to start this. I was already kind of decided I was out of politics and I wanted to change my career and shift focus into other things. I love digital communications, digital media. So I was kind of moving myself more into that direction. And then, while kind of having all this extra time on my hands, I sort of thought about this concept and this idea. And I took, really it's a borrowed concept. It's something that we have in DC. And now, broadly speaking, there's a lot of newsletters like this that are out there. Now, some more commonplace ones like The Hustle, Morning Brew, Morning Chalk Up, right up there with those guys. And so this is now a much more common way of communicating is through the email platform and through these sort of really engaging, robust newsletters and stuff. So I didn't leave specifically to do this. This just kind of fell into my, I don't know if it fell in my lap. It's just something that I thought of when I had all this extra time. I was hanging out at my parents' house in California, SoCal, and I was like, well, maybe there's something there. So you just kind of like gnaws at you a little bit. And then you have the time to actually focus on it. There you go.
And how are you getting outside of like your CrossFit box and finding these stories and industry news to tell? Did you have great connections? Did you just put yourself out there?
No, I didn't know anybody. Total unknown. You know, the thing is, like, I suppose one thing I've learned is that it's really hard to put yourself out there sometimes and like figure out how to make something that of value and prove that it has value to other people when they don't know who you are. And that's why I think digital is great, because had it been in person and had to go to regionals or go to other CrossFit events and like go out there and create a booth and stuff like that, I don't know if I ever would have succeeded. Not because of me. I think it just would have been so hard. But the great thing about information and the internet is that it's out there. And if you can figure out ways to find it and to bucket it and to search it down, like you're able to now build a product off of that. And that's what I did. So I ensured my success because I was able to find stuff on the internet that allowed me to talk about and condense things down into a kind of a readable, discernible document. And because I was able to do that, I was never starving for information. And as I did it more, my network grew and then my connections grew. And then I knew more people, and then I met more athletes. And then, you know, I met more new people who knew more athletes, et cetera, and coaches and on down the road. So now our network is very vast and very wide. You know, you take a look at something like what we put together this morning, you know, a landscape architecture of the next season. That's because we know everybody. And we're able to do that because, you know, we're constantly in contact with the people who are in the know. And so that took a long time, years of trust building and years of effort to do that. But now that we're in that place, it makes the job certainly a lot easier and allows us to be able to do cool things and be able to give people, you know, real information, like what's really going on. We're not just like kidding, like we really know and we're really telling you, and you can do with it what you will.
So within CrossFit specifically, who are your, not by name, Justin, but are your connections, are they within the organization itself? And then
We know everybody.
Secondary question on that, when this whole Glassman shit was like blowing up across the internet, and I remember you put a message out and it was like, hey guys, we're actually gonna calm down. We're gonna stop this thing for like a day, which is a big deal for Morning Chalk Up because you guys are just like pumping, dude. You guys are just pumping so much information out hour over hour, especially during that time. Were you guys kind of afraid that you were going to fracture that relationship with CrossFit?
Well, to be honest, like, you know, CrossFit's relationship with the media has always been tenuous at best. They've never had a great relationship with outside media. You know, they're doing a lot to try and change that with the new regime and with the new comms director in there. You know, fundamentally understands how to communicate and how to work with outside partners. But that was back then, and so during that situation, look, relationships are key. They're fundamental. They're vital. They're vital to our success as an organization that is built around information and about sharing stories and having access to what's really going on, not just what we think is happening. But you know, there's something I tell all the writers on the staff, you know, whenever it comes up, which is you don't get to have friends if you're going to be in journalism, because someday you may have to make a decision between reporting on them and not reporting. And it doesn't mean you can't have friends. That's not really the truth. But you may be faced with a decision where you're going to actually report negatively on somebody that you care and you like. And I tell them, I'm like, look, guys, I know Greg. I have talked to Greg so many times. I've been to Greg's house so many times. Greg calls me up, used to, you know, like randomly, Friday, just him and I hanging out, talking, chit-chatting. You know, if I'm in town, he invites me over. We have dinner. I know Greg very, very well. I know Greg better than some of his staff know Greg. Whatever. So when it comes down to that, I understand that the implications of things that my publication is going to write are going to irrevocably affect our relationship permanently. That's a choice that you make when you get into this job. And if you don't take it seriously, then get out of it. Straight up. So no, the answer is it doesn't matter if they're going to get pissed off at me. And it doesn't really matter if they're going to blackball me for forever. I didn't get into this to be CrossFit's friend. I definitely want to be CrossFit's friend as an organization and as a community. Fundamentally, we have the same goal here, which is that we want more people CrossFitting. We want more people doing functional fitness. And we believe that that is a pathway to becoming a healthier individual and having a longer, more full life to do whatever it is that you want to do. You know, my hobby, mountain climbing. CrossFit gets me to the top every single time. That's great. And the things that I've learned along the way to persevere through challenges and to triumph at the summit of the mountain, that absolutely builds into that. And we are completely aligned in that. But when you take the situation of Glassman, it's like, no, we're not aligned. But even if we were aligned on this particular thing, it's news worth telling. And the community can decide how they want to see it. You know, if they think it's racist, then they can think it's racist. If they don't, then they don't. If they think, this situation is on this side, great. We're going to present the information to them and let the chips fall where they may. So, yes, I understand that CrossFit HQ isn't going to like it very much, but I don't really care.
Why did you guys make the decision to kind of go black, essentially, for 24 hours?
Yeah, more so than any other time, this was sort of spiraling out of control very quickly. And I have to recognize, as not only owner operator, but also the editor-in-chief, that we are responsible for driving a very large portion of the ship. So by us not publishing anything, we're going to calm things down. You know, it's not a perfect solution, but it would have been several days of hard-hitting news that had been coming out and new revelations coming out and more stuff coming out. And it's like, look, guys, like, it has been a tough couple of days. What is it? So Saturday, got off the mountain, the tweet came out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It was probably Wednesday, I think, when we pressed pause. 4 straight days, including 2 weekend days, where it was just like hammered after the next, and things are unfolding and they're happening and athletes are leaving, et cetera. It's like, whoa, the castle's sort of crumbling a little bit, and it's like, all right, we're just going to decide to take a break, because the more and the harder we hit and we drive this news cycle, the more some of the detractors are going to gain momentum. And there's detractors out there who just fundamentally don't like CrossFit HQ, or just maybe don't like Glassman for whatever reason and stuff. And we're giving them a lot more fuel and ammunition, and it's okay. And I think it was the right decision. Just pull back, just have a break, and just let things chill for a hot second. We're not going away. And we didn't, and new things happened, and there was new developments, et cetera. But mob mentality on the internet is easy to just go, right? Like ignition, wildfire. And it's certainly not what we want. We want a sober-minded approach to what's happening, and also to give pause and reflection on what's gone on in this community, because this isn't the Main Street. There's an opportunity to do that in a way that you wouldn't normally see if this were Main Street reporting and stuff. So yeah, it felt like the right thing at the time, and looking back at it, I think I think it was the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, I hope there's not a drama of this level that rocks the CrossFit community again, but inevitably we're going to be faced with something at some point. Was there any lessons you learned from the Glassman controversy that you're going to apply to future controversies?
Well, I come from politics, so I learned a lot of lessons in controversy back then. It's not only is this not the first one I've been involved in directly, it's not going to be the last, unfortunately. No, I think the staff stepped up and handled it really well. This was difficult for them. Every one of our staff members is involved in an affiliate directly. Some of our members are coaches at affiliates that were deciding whether or not to stay or to go. This was difficult for them, and people don't really understand that. People are always like accusing us of like trying to tear down CrossFit. I'm like, yo, do you realize like I'm also reporting on my own demise here? And again, it comes back to that fundamental choice of whether or not you're going to be friends or you're going to tell the truth. And sometimes that makes you opposed to it. Now, we believe that there was light at the end of the tunnel and that this was going to get resolved. And because I've been through crisis before, I've kind of was able to stand back and say, yeah, I think this is going to be okay. But for the individuals that hadn't been through that on my staff, this was difficult for them. This was not easy at all. I mean, we have access to way more information than most people do, and we're seeing it before it gets printed. And so we're looking at this and going, this is terrible. Like, what's going to happen? And I don't think there's any new lessons that I learned over this one. I'm glad that I had controversy before in politics than having been here, because this would have been tough. It would have been really hard to navigate, and it would have been tough, more so than it was.
Justin, how did you handle it internally with your staff? Like, obviously, you know, they have connections to CrossFit, but there was a bigger issue happening, or there was a bigger thing happening, and Glassman just kind of commented on that bigger issue. How did you guys handle that at Morning Chalk Up, being so in the CrossFit thing, but there was all this other stuff happening in our country? How did you guys handle that?
By and large, I've had a posture of trying to keep political discourse out of the Morning Chalk Up for a couple of reasons. One is that we are super global, and the political issues that are manifesting in the United States of America aren't necessarily of concern globally, and it's hard to decide which ones are which, right? Like, and it's hard to decide if it's everybody globally or just like maybe Europeans globally or just Western Europeans globally. And we have readers from like 100 and something countries. And so you're kind of like, it's hard to decide which holidays do you support, which political issues do you bring into the publication that are irrelevant, completely irrelevant to like half of your readership. So for reasons like that, we've typically stayed away. Also, CrossFit's kind of a safe space in a sense. Culturally, it's a little bit of a safe space, a little bit, and it depends on where you are and who you are. But politically, it's sort of a safe space, which is, you know, people just don't typically talk about politics except the high watermarks, you know, right around the election or maybe right around a primary if their state's affected by that. You know, they come in to have a great workout and to hang out, and we like to make that publication reflection of the best hour of their day rather than bringing in the negatives. Not because politics is always a negative, but it does bring negative reactions, whether you want it or not. So I've tried to always stay away from it. When it came to the cultural issues that we were seeing, the diversity issues we were seeing, you know, I said early on, right around the time when a lot of these protests were coming out, and I was like, you know, here's a time where I believe, and I still believe, that CrossFit as a community is one of the most accepting communities that exists out there. The functional fitness gyms who built around families around them are like, I mean, where are you going to see an overweight person getting cheered on in a gym as the last person to finish up a row? I mean, like, that's like, you look at that and you're like, wow, there's not a place to be welcomed in the world. Like 24-hour fitness, that person's never getting cheered on. Not because 24 hours bad, but they don't build a family around there. There ain't a family going to work out there. And where the whole gym is invested in your success. And somebody without a leg or just another adaptive issue, sicknesses and disease, chronic and otherwise, multicultural. And I'm just like, we should be more comfortable talking about these things. And we should look and try and figure out how we can talk about more of them and bring more stories to light. And also just highlight more everyday athletes that are Indian, Black, you know, from other countries, just generally speaking, just bring more culture into it. But what we had to do immediately is we had to put out the fires, and we had to talk about what was going on and then figure out how to move forward in the aftermath. And so what we've seen come in the aftermath is we've seen a lot more programs popping up in inner cities. CrossFit has supported some of those. Other individuals have come to me with initiatives and asked us to highlight them. Just being like, hey, we're trying to do scholarships for more kids. We want to get more kids involved at the early stages of doing functional fitness on a regular basis, either getting them an L1 or an internship. We just wrote a story about another one that's doing a big rowing fundraiser to bring more CrossFit at subsidized rates to people that don't have the means to be able to pay for that. I'm like, yes, more of that. We should be a community that fundamentally stands up and says, we are for that. We are for that always, and we're for that for whomever wants it. And we want to work to make that an active part of our community membership. And so, that's a long way of saying, what I told them was, this is important. This is important to our community, and our community is better than this. Is better than the divisive nature of what's going on in Main Street and what's being talked about out there. And we need to work harder to make sure that we showcase that as a publication. So that's the short version of the long version.
Yeah, it's probably helpful as well. Like you mentioned earlier, the people you're working with, your staff members, they're part of that community. Like they're already connected to CrossFit in their gyms. So they kind of get that. They see the ability for fitness to unite people despite all division that's going on. So I guess, Justin, just to like peel it back a little bit, because I feel like we could keep going down this rabbit hole for so long.
Wherever you want to go.
How did you guys go like from being this email publication that you put out to really being the source of news for the functional fitness world? Like what was the thing that pushed you guys over the edge?
Well, a little bit of luck, a little bit of timing, and then a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears. So you got to put in the hard work, first of all. Like if you're doing anything out there, and you've got to put yourself in a position to be successful when timing arises. You can't control timing for the most part. You just can't. I'm sorry, it's just the way timing works. Father Time bows to no one. So whatever conspiratorial thing is going up in the ether, you've got to be ready to take on something or a new challenge. Otherwise, you just can't say yes. So timing is a huge component, but being prepared is a bigger component, because timing can happen to you 25 times. If you're unprepared 25 times, guess what? You're SOL. So we were prepared. We had done the hard work of being credible, working hard, maintaining relationships, building a brand, building trust, never taking a break. From what we told people we were going to do, we did it. We did it well, and we did it better. Every single day we got better. Every month we got better. A year we got better. And we strategically positioned ourselves as something of significant value, even though CrossFit HQ's media was out there doing big stuff. Like they were ESPN. They're out there making noise and making a lot of airwaves and stuff. And that's great. Like they're controlling the narrative there. But when you want to know what's going on everywhere else in the world and distilling that down to something to get, you're going to come to us. And they just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And because we had developed and established that relationships, when the rumors started happening in 2018 about what's going to go on, like what's happening next for CrossFit, we're hearing a lot of these things. Is regionals going? Is this happening? Is CrossFit going to sell? We don't know what's going on. We basically had about 90% of the entire story before anything had ever done. And I went over to CrossFit and I said, look, this is what I'm hearing. This, and this. You guys want to talk about it? Because we're going to go. And we've got sources on all this stuff. And we know how many people you've laid off. We verified it with the individuals who have been fired. We know where the pivot is in the direction. And they made a decision to go ahead and give me the exclusive on it. So Greg, myself, and two other folks from CrossFit HQ got on the phone, and he laid out the whole plan for me, and we were about 90% on the money, but he filled in the blanks, gave us a bunch of details, and boom, we ran with it, and we changed the CrossFit trajectory forever. So we got the first time that an outside publication basically had published the changes of the season and really announced breaking news that CrossFit didn't do. And from there, it was like, I don't want to say like a lightning rod. It took some time, but I mean, we had roughly like 125,000 people visit the page that day. Broke our servers because we weren't used to that kind of volume. So they started laying off staff, and we charted a course forward where we thought we could be successful and profitable at the same time. And we doubled down on written content and decided we're going to be the paper of record for CrossFit. We're going to go out and travel in the sanctional season and figure out how to make it work, experiment with it and try. And so luck and timing being, we were at the right place at the right time. We had established our credibility and done a lot of hard work, and luck because they just decided to exit the media environment. We didn't fill the video media environment. We weren't out there to like be the CrossFit Games studio. We experimented with it a little bit, but just ultimately wasn't for us. But when it came to written word and keeping everybody updated with what's going on, and we stepped immediately into that void, and we established and increased our relationships broadly. And so now, our network is very global at this point. So we had a plan, put it in place, timing and the winds were on our side. So kind of how we stepped in and made it a reality.
A lot of lessons inside of what you just said, Justin. But one thing I want to like pick apart is you mentioned, making a profit. Businesses need to make a profit. You give a lot of content away for free. Like how do you manage to do that and make a profit?
So originally the business was built to be a newsletter. The newsletter still is the access point for a majority of all CrossFitters. And so we built something nobody had built before, not in CrossFit. So we have an exclusive channel. There aren't a lot of places, as you well know, to advertise that you're going to reach CrossFitters. Can't go to Google and click that CrossFit box and say, hey, I'd like to place my Google web ads. I'd like web ads on go to Google AdWords and hey, I want to go play some Google. I want to play some ads on Google's ad network. Check that CrossFit box. That box doesn't exist. So we built the box. That's how we're profitable. We built an exclusive channel that nobody else has. CrossFit has an email of the day. They have an email a day because I have an email. And so, but they don't monetize theirs, but I monetize mine. I built it as a business and not just as an information channel. We keep our advertising streamlined and we keep it unobtrusive. And that's why people aren't turned off by it. And we do that smartly, and we work with brands that want to access CrossFitters. They want to access people that are in the box, that are CrossFitting on a daily basis. Guaranteed, you do not read Morning Chalk Up if you don't love CrossFit or functional fitness, and you don't do it in your gym or in an affiliate, because you will hate it. It's like being friends with 1,000 people on Facebook that do CrossFit. It's like, whoa, your news feed is disgusting. You're like, get me away from here. So, by virtue of the fact that we're not, you guys are laughing because it's true. You've seen the comments. And you're like, bro, can you post about something else other than your clean and jerk? And you're like, no.
We've been that person.
We've been those people. We are those people. So because we're not general fitness in the sense that we're not like 6 ways to get better abs, or like, here's like 5 summer fitness tips for whatever, where you're going to pick up traffic from people that are sort of more casual fitnessers, casual CrossFitters, whatever they are. Because we're not we're not lukewarm. We're like hot. We are the channel. If you want to reach a CrossFitter, if you want to reach somebody who's definitely in the box, there are so few places to advertise. You can go to an event and put your banner up. Can't click there. So in digital environments, there's so few. You can sponsor a major sanctional and then you can click there, but sanctionals aren't optimized for like a ROAS, for a positive ROAS, So like they're not optimized that way. They're not a digital marketing channel. They're an event planning company. And so we just structured ourselves right in between and said, look, guys, like we offer a fair price to reach a large audience of CrossFitters that are actively CrossFitting. They're extremely excited and passionate about our product. Here you go. And so we built a premium model in order to capitalize on the appetite for more. Like they want longer form content. They want deeper dives on new topics. And because we were connected, we were able to like talk about the trends that are happening and, what's happening with COVID and trends and how gyms are shaping to fit the new landscape and environment. And, what statistics can we glean through surveys and polls in order to understand the CrossFit general population and then the affiliate owner general population. Let's have discussions around that and dive deeper into that subject stuff. More than just news of the day. This is now establishing, writing about and figuring out what the trends are and delivering that up to an audience that's extremely hungry. And the audience for that's a lot smaller. You're talking about a very plugged in, very business oriented audience. And we wanted to be able to offer them something that was much more premium and longer form and stuff. And so we started building a premium model, and we're going to continue to build that and build up more content development in that direction to give them a heck of a lot more stuff to chew on.
Just because you guys are talking to so many affiliate owners, gym owners, where do you guys see this whole thing going? Where do you see, not CrossFit as a sport, I know you guys put a big thing out today on the season and all of that, but just the affiliate model and, the benefits or disbenefits of being affiliated, or even just having a micro gym. Where do you guys see that whole thing going over the next couple of years?
There are a lot of different avenues that this is going down. So a couple of trends that are established. Number one is just keep on keeping on. Let's, the model worked previously to a degree of profitability. We were okay with that. And because maybe other gyms in the neighborhood have closed, we've actually grown our membership. Or not just maybe gyms, but maybe other non-CrossFit or non-affiliate or non-functional gyms have closed, and people are now kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like, I could try that. They're open, and getting fitness in is super important, so I can do that now. We've seen a couple gyms that are doing that. So I think one pathway is just keep on keeping on. Just doing what you're doing, try to maximize profit, trying to build up your cash banks and reserves, and wait this thing out, right? So that's just the stay the course. Some gyms are closing and they're done, right? And that's super unfortunate, super sad, no matter who your affiliation lies with. It's just unfortunate to be the case. But economically, it's a tough environment. So there's gyms that are making that decision. San Francisco CrossFit, first affiliate in San Francisco, 15-year-old affiliate. They're like, we can't do nothing. Like, our hands are completely tied and we're bleeding money. We're out. And they made a responsible decision, a difficult one. And I talked to those guys last week, Juliet and Kelly Starrett, and they laid it pretty clean. Just economically, it's unviable. San Jose CrossFit, the fourth ever affiliate in the world, closed its brick and mortar operation this week. They're going virtual only. They're going completely virtual. They're selling off the reserve equipment that they know they no longer need, and they're probably selling it to members. Now they're hosting virtual classes. So this is a new trend. This is something that's very, very new that we haven't seen a lot of people doing, which is completely closing their doors with no plans to move it forward and reopen. And now they're offering virtual classes directly to their consumers. And I think therein lies a very interesting take. So I've said this a couple times in various places. I don't really remember what the situation was, but I said, look, if I were CrossFit, if I were Eric Rosa, I would double down on a trend of direct to consumer technology that brings fitness or CrossFit to the living room. I'd build an app, the CrossFit app, because I'm the only one who can do it. You got the trademark, so congrats. If I could, I'd do it. And I would host live classes every day. You know how many seminar staff are out there? There's so many seminar staff in multiple languages across the globe. There's like 150 seminar staff or more that are like the best trainers in the world for CrossFit. And if you want to have a CrossFit app, great. That's fantastic. But guess what? There's a whole bunch of people whose gyms are closed. There's a whole bunch of people who are afraid to go into a gym. There's a whole bunch of people who feel like they're too fat to go into a gym. We all know this. We've seen them on a constant basis. We've met them we've worked out next to them, who told us their story, and we've written about them at Morning Chalk Up, and CrossFit knows about them already. And there's a whole bunch of other people that just don't know how to get started, right? The Greg Glassman was onto something back in the day when he brought out the couch. Now, his was a little kooky, and the way of going about doing it was a little bit strange. But right now, more people are investing in their own personal fitness from technology and wearables than they've ever done before. So if I were thinking about what's the trend for the next several years of CrossFit or for training, let's just be more specific to training. I would say whoever is able to capitalize on in living room fitness the best, the fastest, the hardest, and gets $14.95 per month and establishes a base of 500,000 users is the company that wins. If it were me, this is what I would do. Because what I can tell you is that there's a whole bunch of actual CrossFitters who are out there who are going and joining Zoom classes on a regular basis with their affiliate. If that tells you one thing, it's that people will adapt. They will do digitized fitness. And they will do that with a personal trainer who's there talking and walking them through the mechanisms and the components and encouraging them along the way with a plan to help them get fitter. If you've got that and you can deliver it to a phone or OTT, congratulations, you just won the game. If he's serious about getting a million, growing his affiliation model and growing the number of active CrossFitters to millions, to 10 million, to 20 million, that's what I would do. So if you're a gym that's out there, I think San Francisco CrossFit provides a unique and interesting model that you might consider for yourselves. Brick and mortar is very expensive. We've known that for a long time. But if you got 200 or 300 members that are going to be willing to pay you a reduced rate because it's no longer, not to access the same equipment, and still work out in their garages, which more and more people today are transforming into gyms, your overhead, way down, profit, way up. It's basically a math equation. Just got to decide to pivot. Doesn't mean it works for everybody, and not everybody should do it, but it's certainly something we're seeing. And San Francisco is a good example.
San Jose, you mean?
San Jose CrossFit, yes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though, man, because it's like how I think we're in like this limbo spot, right? Where it's like, do you go all in on the things that you're saying? Because what if we're back to some state of normal in February? I don't think we will be, but what if we are, right? So it's like a gamble. It's like, do you kind of wait this thing out? Do you kind of see what's going to happen over the next 6 months? I know we said that 7 months ago, 8 months ago, but it's like, when do you actually make the decision to like go all in one day? Especially for
Fortune favors the bold, my friend. I can't give you the right answer to that. But what I can tell you is that you may fail, but you may succeed beyond what your expectations.
It's risk mitigation. So you talk to a company like CrossFit, right? And they're like, Eric's like, hey, dude, we're actually doing okay right now. You know what I mean? Our cash flow is not in any kind of pain. So it's like that risk mitigation is a lot. You have to pay attention to that a lot more than San Jose CrossFit, where they're like, we can shut down or go online. Let's go online, right?
Sure. Yeah. Every case is going to be super individualized when it comes to that. I would say in the terms of CrossFit, they have a stated goal of wanting to double the amount of affiliates globally. They also have a stated goal of wanting 500,000 people doing the Open, and they have a stated goal of well, they don't have a stated goal in this one, but they do have a VC company behind them that didn't just throw its money into in order to get no return on investment. If they're looking at a 5x multiple on $200 million, on $200 million for buying CrossFit, then they need $1 billion company. They're not going to get to $1 billion company by writing the 10-year plan to double affiliation. I mean, so yeah, you're right. But, in 10 years, do they double affiliation? I don't know. They're at 14,100 right now they're down 1,400 from a high water mark of 15.5. So, you do that net negative 1,400 math and you add another, because they'd be on like 28,000 in 10 years. I don't know. Maybe they will. I don't know. I can't even speak to it because I don't know what their plans are or aren't. But I know that that's a very large uphill battle because most of that growth has to happen overseas. I also know that they won't necessarily reach a big 1B by doing that because it's not necessarily going to correlate to, it will be double the amount of affiliation revenue, and it will be an increase in the amount of L1 training and certification levels. But I can tell you get some profitability better if you get $14.95 from 500,000 people monthly.
Yeah, it's interesting because maybe that does get CrossFit into the hands in the living rooms of more like clients and consumers, but it doesn't ultimately help the coaches and the gym owners.
Well, it does and it doesn't. So there's a pocket of individuals that just isn't going to go to the gym, that don't like group fitness, right? They may get in on the personal trainer aspect of your gym, so you may be taking away that personal training element. And certainly somebody who's uncomfortable doing gym-based environment training is going to be much more comfortable with a personal trainer. But the cost barrier is significantly higher. So you're already knocking out a ton of individuals that just won't pay $200 a month for personal training or more. And personal training can easily be $200, $300, $400, and $500 a month, depending on what you're asking for and who you want to work with, and where you live too. Because like New York City versus Anaheim, where I live. It's relatively expensive, but it's certainly not New York City, and it's not San Francisco or Omaha, Nebraska. So the price tag is going to shift a lot. If you're only costing $20 or $30 or $40 a month, what you're talking about is, generally speaking, an individual who's not going to be doing that. But what you are going to be getting is somebody who is getting results from CrossFit. And what is CrossFit or functional training? One is the best marketing tool that they have. It's the body telling their friends because they took their shirt off, or because they just look better, or because they're eating healthier, and people ask them the question, hey man, what's different? J-Lo, looking shredded over there. What's with all that stuff you got going on? Oh man, I've been doing CrossFit. Really? CrossFit? I thought all the gyms are closed. No, I've been doing it in my living room. Got this new app. CrossFitters and the gym members, the athletes have been the best marketing tool that has existed for all the owners that are out there. They're talking about it all the time. I mean, come on. We've been talking about it all the time. We're freaks. Like, you can't go to a social media page from one of us and be like, yeah, that person definitely does CrossFit. And it's the best marketing tool we've had, and allowing that to live and to thrive. And I think that more people doing it is a net benefit. I don't think those people, I think the cost of getting that type of person that's going to use a fitness-based app into the gym is going to be very expensive and very difficult. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but I don't think those people are gym goers. I don't think those people want to go to a gym and do group classes with other people. I think that's why they picked Living Room Fitness. I think that's why they picked Peloton. You know that the person who can afford Peloton can afford a 24-hour membership, but for some reason they choose Peloton because they get to do it in their gym. They get to walk in their own personal gym. They get to walk right outside into their garage, and they get to crank it for 30 minutes to an hour, and they get to do that, and they get to measure their success against a whole bunch of their peers and figure out how badass they are. That's fantastic. That person can afford a $24 membership to 24-hour fitness. And she said they choose a $1,000 machine and a monthly fee. I don't think it hurts affiliates. I don't think they were going to get those people anyways.
Yeah, I think I think, especially right now, I think a lot of companies see a lot of opportunity to make an extra buck, right? In this instance, an extra 10 million bucks. But it's like, and you're in it too, right? It's like you have a company, you have to make decisions day over day, quarter over quarter, and it's like, what are we going to do, right? And there's probably something that comes to all of our minds where we're like, ooh, I can make a lot of cash doing this thing. But we take a step back and we're like, ooh, that doesn't align with what we do as a company at all, right? So, I can kind of, I feel Eric's pain where it's like, and I know we keep talking about CrossFit, but it's relevant, but it's relevant to all companies. Yeah, but, he came out and he said, affiliates first, right? I think he said something like that.
Yeah.
So if they were to pivot and say, we're going after your members, right? I could see where the affiliates would
I could see it, and selling it's going to be challenging, but at the same time, I just don't buy that you're really stealing membership out there. Like, they've had 10 years to go grab that person. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't do this in a public discourse, but if I was having a one-to-one conversation with somebody who's like, you're stealing my members, I was like, what were you doing for the last decade? How come they're not in your gym? I'm not stealing anybody from you. They weren't going to show up anyways, or you didn't do a good enough job marketing them. So I've already given you a decade's time. And now it's time to pivot and figure out how we're going to deliver more CrossFit to more people. Ultimately, more people doing CrossFit is a net benefit. I think that when people were going to leave, they were going to leave during COVID, and they're saying, just I'm only in for group fitness. I think the people there love group fitness. They're there. Honestly, you come for CrossFit, you stay for family, right? You come for the workout, you stay for the community. That's something we've been saying for a long time, and that's something gym owners have been saying for a long time. So they got the community-based people. Remember in the back in the day when we got the fire breathers concept. I was a fire breather person. I came in, I was like, I just want to get smashed in the face by a truck. That's why I'm here. And you're like, okay, so if you're going to graduate from the 80 or so crazy people that join your gym, right? Greg used to talk about this. It's like, you're 75, you open a gym, you're like, we're going to give you just absolutely smash you in the face this workout. You're going to be lying on the floor, just demolished. You used to get 75 people to join. They're like, I want to get demolished. Well, to get from 75 to 150, you're going to now have to accept some people that are not crazy. You're going to have to start, maybe adjusting your coaching style so you're not screaming in their face, being like, just keep going, you just do it, come on, you've got those people you could do that with, but your everyday CrossFitters dude, bro, bump the brakes. And so you have to adjust your coaching style and the clientele that you're going. And if you want to go from 150 to 300, you got to go to the mall and you got to see some people that don't look good naked. Greg used to talk about this all the time. It's like, if you want to go from 150 to 3, guess what? Obese, the underserved populations, the ones who don't even walk into gyms anymore. Now you're fighting over people that don't go to gyms. They don't want to be in a gym. And you need to convince them that by going into a gym, they're going to have a better life, a healthier life, more functional life. They can pick things up. They can play with their kids. They can do all of the fun things that they thought they could do, but they can't do it anymore. Right? So I just don't buy that after 10 years, then all of a sudden they cry foul because CrossFit as an organization, if they built the app direct to consumer, is stealing their people. It could happen, maybe in the ones and twos, but they had a shot for a decade to pick them up, to pick up the mom, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm thinking about optics, right? But I think
they'll get upset.
Yeah. But I think a lot of just kind of what you just walked through. Getting from 75 to 150, 150 to 300. I think the issue that we see in a lot of gyms, not necessarily just CrossFit gyms, and in all gyms, I think we don't actually coach people, right? We're doing the thing that you were just doing. We're yelling in their faces. We're telling them to go faster, to get on the ground, and they're not actually seeing results at the end of the day. Maybe they see results for a couple months, right? But then you burn them out, they fizzle out, and they're back to, net negative, and they've gained an additional 20 pounds. But all I'm saying is I think we need to focus more on coaching people and getting them results, and then we'll more naturally get from 75 to 150 because the 75 people that are in our gym are getting such a great service and they're getting such great results, and we're not worried about the people in the shopping malls, right? We're not like, ooh, now I need to go here and I need to go there and I need to go there. It's like, no, I'm solely focused on the people inside of this facility and getting them great results, and then they're just referring, right? Imagine if one person, you have 75 people in your gym, and over the course of 6 months, every single one of your members refer one person. It's like, you just doubled your business in 6 months, which is unheard of, right?
You well could. I think part of the CrossFit success is at the affiliate level has been, just word of mouth component and stuff. And, a lot of people don't do big marketing plans, and I really don't think they work. I would tell, I think I even had a gym want to advertise with us once. And I was like, that's not a good idea. Like, that's not gonna help you. Like, we are global CrossFit. Just go to your gym members, send them an email and tell them, would everybody just do me a quick favor and tell one friend about CrossFit this week, or whatever it is that you do. It's it. You're gonna get way more yardage out of paying me $500 or something to, talk about your gym and in an ad space and stuff. And so I think the word of mouth component is something that I think now more than ever, gyms should double and triple down on it. They should be encouraging. They should be open to. That's one lesson I've learned from Juliet and Kelly Charette, which is just, everyone's kind of going through their own thing in life right now. This is people in different places. Some people lost their jobs. Some people are doing okay. Everyone's adjusting to kind of a new lifestyle, and they're in various stages in that life cycle. Some they're going to get laid off tomorrow. Some people got laid off yesterday. Some people's kids got sick and they don't really know what to do. Some people are homeschooling and they're just on break this week. Congratulations. They got a chance to have a breather. The affiliate owners and gym owners themselves at the boutique level are struggling for the most part. And I think they should be more open and honest about that struggle that they're going through, because it's not exactly out of sight, out of mind, but we do go there for a service, and we're not always, we're not always top of mind, which is what are the service providers happening to them. And Juliet said this in this little coffee break conversation we had end of last week. And she's like, when we announced that we were closing, I was really surprised at how many people reached out and were like, had I known, I would have helped. And she's like, I guess I just didn't make it clear, to the 300 plus members that we had, which is that, like, shit's getting real, and didn't really make that known. And she was just kind of like, maybe I was off, or maybe I just didn't see it or didn't say it. And so I would say, the affiliate owners, at the beginning when everything closed and everybody was closed, it was easier to make that ask, because you're like, guys, it's obvious, right? Our doors are closed. We don't have members coming in, and to put it together a fundraiser or something to ask for help and support was probably a little bit easier, and it's a little bit easier to justify it. But now, 9 months later, or not quite 9, but 8 months later, after the initial closure started, some gyms aren't open, but a lot of them have opened in some capacity, at least in a limited, maybe outdoors or indoors with limited numbers capacity. To be a little bit more open about the natural struggle that's out there. I think there's a sense of pride in still being okay in what's going on with your business. I asked, and we had a lot of support, and individuals who came in and said, look, yeah, we like what you do, and we're willing to help support you guys financially during this time. But to be a little bit more honest, I don't know how many gyms are doing it or not doing it, because I don't have the magic 8-ball on what everyone's saying, but that was something that she had mentioned, and I was like, okay, that's good. That's a good reflection. Anybody who owns a gym out there, I think they should be really honest about what's going on, both mistakes, positives, and pitfalls, etc. Being honest with your members and being honest with whoever your clientele feels awkward at first, because you're supposed to know all the right answers. You're supposed to do everything perfect because you're the service provider. But I think actually people tend to appreciate it a lot more than you would expect. We've made our own blunders, et cetera. And I've, made a point to email the individuals or everybody if this is a big blunder. Just being like, guys, we messed up. Here's why. Here's what happened. Sorry. We're gonna try and make it better, but we're not gonna hide. And we've noticed a lot of positive feedback that's come as a result of that. And I imagine that, it's a family there. It's a family at every gym, no matter what name is on the door. having tough conversations. It's a little uncomfortable at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, I love your guys' transparency, man. I think I got like 16 emails from you guys last Sunday or something like that, or 2 Sundays ago.
Only 16? Man, you got cut short. Some people got like 800.
Oh.
And no, you sent an email out, I think, right after that or the next day, and you're like, "Hey guys, sorry, we kind of fucked up a little bit, and this is why. This is what was going on behind the scenes." And I don't think that's the first time that we received something like that from you guys. So that's always good, man. So that's a great lesson, man. Just be transparent, right?
Not the first time.
Yeah.
I had a question, and Georgia kind of moved past, and she was like, "We could dig into this thing for a really long time," but I want to go way back, and this will be my last question. When we were kind of talking about, how you handled the whole CrossFit thing and all of that, I just have one more question on that. Just because you knew Greg or you know Greg so well, did that whole thing surprise you?
No, I mean, so there's 2 strands of things that are going on. Well, there's more than one strand of things going on. I don't know if it's just 2, but let me boil it down to 2. So the first uproar was over his comments to Alyssa Royce, a 9-year-long affiliate owner based in Washington, where he called her delusional and said he was ashamed of her for her comments. And it's because her comments were centered around, CrossFit not taking a stance on diversity issues while this stuff was going on. He has had those moments several times before where he's just kind of gone off the rails and railed against an affiliate owner, or maybe even just somebody on their messaging board, not messaging board, on .com, because you can go in the comments. And Greg has commented multiple times before, and sort of had these tirades against affiliate owners, or just maybe just general people commenting. And it's like, look, if you don't want to be here, just leave. Like, we don't want you here then, kind of thing. And it's just a really like aggressive response and stuff to what Alyssa's was, a very thoughtful response, and somebody who's been in the community for a very long time. So there's that strand, which is just kind of like, people are like, okay, it's definitely not the first time we've seen this, and this is just kind of the last, and we're done, we're done, we're out, and then CrossFit as an organization has had a relatively hands-off policy when commenting on cultural issues. In fact, there's only 2 times I can remember them commenting on cultural issues. I'm sure there are more, but these are 2 that I remember. And I would guess that there aren't a lot more outside of this. Number 1, when an Indiana-based affiliate declined to host a Pride event during Pride Month, organized by one of the coaches, and there was a big uproar about that. One of CrossFit HQ's employees made a comment standing with the affiliate's decision to do that. He ultimately got fired, and Greg made a tweet that said, I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm crazy proud of our gay community. Sort of in wrapping his arm around and being very inclusive in that instance. So they're sort of commenting in on some of more of a cultural issue that's going on, or cultural conversation, I should say, that's going on inside the CrossFit community. And the second one was over the choice to make a Glock the prize for the 2016 CrossFit Games, a Glock 9mm pistol, and that was the second time that I've seen them comment in on a cultural issue. That was way back 2016. So then maybe there perhaps have been others and stuff. So they've typically not. And CrossFit made a decision not to make any comments about what was going on. And then the Zoom call came out. And so it doubled down, which is now, so Greg really is weighing in on the situation. And he made some very disparaging remarks. And he made, one of the individuals that asked him was a Minneapolis, Minnesota-based affiliate owner, right in the heart of where these conversations and these protests were going on. And he made some very disparaging remarks, and that was the second one. And so you're just kind of like, Greg, like, you can't have it both ways. Like, at one moment you're like really inclusive about, the gay community here in CrossFit, and now you're like dismissing. He said things like, "We're not mourning for nobody. My company's mourning for George Floyd, and why should I, feel like I need to say anything? Is the white thing to do." like talking about white guilt and stuff. And that just kind of came in, and it's like, wow, how are you that callous? Like you hear one instance where you're very inclusive and you're saying, no, like, we're proud of this community. We want them involved in here. And then affiliate owners were raising these questions in the call about why CrossFit was silent on the issue. And then he just lashes out the opposite way. That one was a little bit more surprising. I didn't expect that, because I don't actually see Greg as a racist, to be fair. Like, we've never sat down and had a conversation about it, but nothing that he's done in the times that I've interacted with him make me believe that. I think he was just feeling pressure to weigh in on cultural issues and frustrated about that, being like, I just want to talk about fitness and health. Why am I talking about this? And I think that's kind of where he fell, and that's why he reacted the way he is. I'm obviously reading into this. The first one didn't surprise me with Alyssa Royce. The second one did. And I was like, like, you're a pretty open dude. You're a libertarian guy. Like, you're chill. I know the type of people that you hang around. You guys are pretty just cool people. Like, I don't really think you're a racist or a bigot, but but it's what he said, and obviously upset a lot of people, and it brought a cultural conversation much more to the forefront than it was happening originally, and and that just, people didn't stand for that. They were like, I'm sorry, like, if I'm going to give my money to an organization whose head says and believes these things, and also treats business owners this way, I'm out. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with being a part of an organization where any of my money goes to profit that. And the most powerful statement you can make is with your pocketbook sometimes. And that's kind of the short version, but that's how I see it playing out. So it was really unfortunate, because I don't really think he is a racist. I just think he was feeling pressure to comment and lashed out as a result. But that's my read.
Yeah, it seems so challenging to write on things when you obviously have a strong opinion, right? Like, one way or the other.
Yeah. Sometimes I recuse myself as a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, man.
Indeed.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And, if we can do anything better, you let me know. You know how to get a hold of me.
All right, brother.
Will do.
Call me at breakfast.
I will, man. I will. Stay with us for more Backroom Talk. Just such a character, right?
He was.
Yeah, funny dude. Really funny dude.
Yeah, he definitely had a sharp wit. It was awesome to get his insights into the whole Greg Glassman controversy. Obviously, he's got, more insight than most people. He's connected to that world. He's, on the phone and engaging with Greg, or at least was before. I'm curious to know what their relationship is like now. We didn't really ask that. Mm-hmm. Probably non-existent.
Probably.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, it was also good to chat with him on just, what he's seeing happening, just because they have so many people reaching out to gym owners, writing articles, doing this, doing that. So it's good to kind of get his input of like, hey, what's actually happening inside of, but he's so in the CrossFit affiliate world. So it's like, I think it's unfair to say that's like a snapshot of what fitness is. It's just like, hey, this is actually what's happening inside of the CrossFit world. And these are the challenges that CrossFit gyms are facing, because the model is group, right?
Yeah.
So with what's happening right now, this is hitting group models really, really hard. So as you guys listen to the episode, just keep that in mind, right? He's talking about CrossFit and group fitness. He's not talking about fitness as a whole, but it's interesting to kind of hear him. And I know, like, Emily's always on the affiliate group page talking to people and really getting insights into how are you delivering this thing? Are you on Zoom? Are your clients leaving? Are they staying? And I think they're seeing a lot of different conversations happening around the world, where some gyms are like, we're crushing this. We may have less members, but we're making just as much money, or maybe we're making more money because we were actually losing money when we had a brick and mortar, which but gyms lose money. There's a lot of gyms that are out there losing money.
Definitely.
So it was good to kind of hear what Morning Chalk Up is seeing.
Yeah, the conversation around the idea of CrossFit creating some central fitness app where people can do CrossFit in their living room, seminar staff instructors. My mind kind of went to Apple Fitness Plus and what they're doing with that, and the kind of lineup of coaches or trainers that they have there, putting them on a pedestal. Where I go, though, is it doesn't help the individual coaches inside the individual affiliates. And I do think that people that went to those affiliates are going to transition over to following this app. Just looking at behaviors and the way people are leaving gyms, not everyone is that loyal. And Justin was kind of talking about those 75 people in your gym who are like the diehards. They're going to be CrossFit till they die. They don't actually really care if they get results, like they're there for the community. But the other 75 people that take you to 150, they just want to get fitter and live a healthier life. And, you know, if they're not able to do that in the gym, or, you know, whether they're doing it in the gym or whether they're doing it in the living room, they're going to pick the item that's more affordable and more convenient for them and that gets some better results.
Yeah, and I pushed back a little bit on the episode, not because I didn't agree that that's a good idea, but I just pushed back just because I didn't think that it aligned with what they said they were going to do as a company, right? Because we have to kind of stay true to that stuff, right? Because we could look at opportunities in any company and say, oh, let's go do this thing because we could probably make more money doing it. But if it doesn't align, it's just a little bit weird. So I agree with you. You know, if CrossFit did something like that, they would upset their affiliates, right? And their mission, I believe their stated mission was they're putting affiliates first now. And that just wouldn't put affiliates first.
For sure.